All right, what's going on? NoSo Countdown. This is Mike Rossi, joined by Mike Eller. How you doing today, Eller?
Doing great, Mike. Loved watching this Words game match. How are you?
Oh man, me too. It was quick and easy compared to the marathons I was watching leading up to this one.
Yeah. Uh, it was a house show match, which I know you're going to go into detail with in a little bit. But the fact that it was 23 minutes, got a lot of action in it too. No dead time, no 45-minute, match that takes forever, an hour and a half with the entrances. So I loved it. I loved almost everything.
Yeah. There's a couple of really cool things in this that I kind of wish they still did today, like the coin flip. We'll talk about that in a bit. But so just to kind of go back with how we got to this match, which is rated by the NoSo Network as the sixth best War Games match ever. So this is in '88. So let's go back to the tail end of 1987. Lex Luger was actually booted from the Four Horsemen, which led him to teaming with Barry Windham to feud with the Horsemen in the early parts of 1988. That team went on to defeat Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard for the NWA World Tag Titles at the very first Clash of the Champions in April of 1988. Wyndham then subsequently turned on Luger like 2 weeks later and joined the Horsemen himself, which then cost when he did that cost Tully and Arn cost them the title, so Tully and Arn won them back. And then from there, Wyndham went on to win the NWA United States Championship in May, defeating Nikita Koloff in a tournament final after the title was vacated after one and only Dusty Rhodes was stripped and suspended for attacking Jim Crockett. So he was like suspended for 4 months or something like that. At this point, all four horsemen had titles, which I thought was cool. Wyndham had that U.S. title. Arn and Tully had the tag titles, and Flair obviously had the NWA World title. Now, in April of 1988, Luger teamed with Sting to win the Crockett Cup, which was a big tag tournament. Ended up beating Arn and Tully in the finals. And from there, Luger got himself a world title match against Flair at the Great American Match pay-per-view, which was actually on July 10th of 1988, just about a week before this match. Then Luger was attacked when he arrived that night in the back, which put a big cut on him, which they played into the finish of that match. While Luger actually had Flair in the torture rack, which looked like the finish of the match, he started profusely bleeding, and the referee stopped the match, stating that it was against the state laws, so they had to stop the match, and they gave Flair his title. From there, Luger formed an alliance with Dusty Rhodes, who was returned now, Dr. Death Steve Williams, the aforementioned Nikita Koloff, and Paul Ellering to do a series of War Games matches as part of the Great American Bash house show tour in 1988. They ran the show like 5 or 6 times, but this is the one that was known as like a famous match. So it must have been the best of the group. They were all basically house shows, and the War Game match that we're talking about here became kind of a hidden gem. It was nothing that you could really find. It was a couple of times that it ended up on the WWE Network as part of the hidden gems category. But it was really just, culmination of a lot of feuds coming to head over the summer and the second year of the War Games concept. So what do you think, Eller, of the concept of War Games on a house show?
From a money standpoint, I'm not sure if it's the best. You're closing off a lot of seats. It's probably expensive to cart 2 rings around that big crate all around the South. But for a fan perspective, I mean, it's pretty incredible. You're used to just squash matches or maybe one long match, but this is a culmination, like you said, of multiple feuds over the last 9 months or so. Of great storylines, and you have a ton of main event stars here. One of the things I thought is maybe not the most star-packed War Games we've ever had, but still high level star power. And again, if I'm a fan, I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how now we live in a society in a time frame when it's like everything is built to the one War Games match a year, or one men, one women if it's WWE, one match for AEW, and it becomes like a destination event for fans. And back in '98, they were just touring this thing up and down the East Coast. It was kind of funny. So yeah, the match happened, and like we found a clip of this on Daily Motion. It's really tough to find this match, right? Ryan had to go digging for it for us. 23 minutes for the entire video, which starts with these guys outside of the ring, just on separate sides of the ring as they're going to get introduced. Tony Schiavone was kind of the MC of this match. What I really liked about this, Eller, and I bet you did too, he was doing a lot of countdowns to keep the crowd engaged. 60 seconds, 30 seconds. He let the crowd continue to know. And a time frame where there probably wasn't on a video screen how much time these guys had between entrants. Did you like that aspect?
Yeah, I did. Tony did a pretty solid job. And then you could tell the fans are just getting more and more amped and more jacked. And then, especially like Luger entering and Koloff entering, just like the fans just lose their shit for this. And I mean, just like not Road Warrior pops maybe, but still huge pops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was more excited for the babyface announcements, right? Like he was counting that with more enthusiasm. And for the heels, he was kind of like drowned out, which I thought was cool. Shivani's great. He still is great. Even though, nowadays he doesn't, we're looking at him in a different fashion, but I mean, he could do it all in this industry when he really wanted to.
Yeah. Maybe Gary Michael Capetta would have been the best for it, but Tony more than held his own.
Yeah, absolutely. So match starts with Dusty and Arn. Arn was funny. He gets in the ring, looks at the crowd, flips him off. I laughed at that. That popped me right away. He does his typical cowardly heel shit, in and out of the ring, trying to bait Dusty, like swapping back and forth. He would get control, jump into the other ring, make Dusty chase him. This was a solid 5 minutes, I thought, with these two guys. A lot of that cat and mouse stuff that you see at the beginning of these war games when it's the first two teams in. Dusty did a hell of a job selling for Arn throughout this, and they really put a good introspective on this match from the start.
It just felt like Dusty's match. It was a fight, and I loved it. Both guys were awesome. Only 5 minutes, but I just think though these were the two perfect guys to start this match with. I'm not sure what you thought on that.
Yeah, no, it really was. I thought that, probably two of the better workers, right? Really made me think about how, Cody's finally going to get his War Games match in 2023. And it made me like smile to see Dusty in this one. Thinking about how much this meant, for that whole family probably at the time. And I know Dusty was one of the first like intros of one of the first to come up with the War Games concept after watching, I think, Mad Max or something, I think was where he got it from. So it was really cool. Dusty's awesome. And then they cut to the outside and the referees got both teams separated and they do a live coin flip to decide who goes in next. As always, the heels always have the advantage that the match would be tough otherwise. What did you think of this coin flip, Eller?
I loved it. It's just so old school. Like, today we'd probably have some, giant graphic of everything, and like you could hear, I think it's like Nikita Koloff like screaming, like, "Get over here, coin toss, like get over here, we're going over here." Just I don't know, it's like a little backyard, like I don't know, like kids like deciding it, and it was fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we have matches to determine it, which is always weird because that means somebody's got to lose in the build-up. So this was just pure fun. Like I like the kid energy of this. Then Dr. Death came in after to even it off after Wyndham was in there. He comes in, kicks some ass. Flair comes in. There's not a lot of stuff going on here in the middle. When it's the Flair and the 3-on-2 beatdown, you can kind of feel the crowd dying off a little bit. We needed to get a big pop. And then in came Lex Luger, who was probably the big babyface of the show at this point. Goes right after Flair. He's super over. Crowd's going apeshit. He gets Flair in the torture rack until Wyndham, comes over and crotches him. What do you think of the Luger entrance here?
He just, like you said, he looked like $1 million. Loved his tight. Loved the like bright blue. Flair was kind of taunting him on the outside. I think he maybe even spit at him, and it just felt huge. Never been the biggest Luger fan, like outside of bits and certain time periods, but it was great. I was surprised maybe he didn't go a little bit like maybe last or second last with the managers, but so I was surprised when watching it, but I think with the match it ended up being okay and probably the right thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a good time when you had Flair come in and had Luger right follow him. And then you kind of, you had Tully and then you had Koloff come in before it got to the managers, which, was kind of wonky, but it was funny. When J.J. Dillon got in, it felt like one of those like late 80s matches when he didn't have to get involved in the WWF side. He comes in with his gear. He's all goofy. You're like, all right, this guy's definitely eating the fall here. Now, when Koloff gets in there was an interesting spot. Flair randomly gets him in a figure four. Koloff was pretty much selling from the second he got into this match, which is abnormal for a babyface to come in. but it was kind of a breath of fresh air because it kind of took away from the paint by numbers that this match was to this point.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Koloff, still was thrown off by that hair. He definitely looked different, and he definitely had far less muscles than 1986 Koloff. I thought it was good. Yeah, I'm just gonna echo what you said there. You're dying down a little bit. It's the same thing over and over again with Dr. Death and then Luger, and then a little bit of a change of pace and give the heels more of an advantage and make them more believable that they could win too.
Yeah, and I liked it too because that beatdown came in because JJ wasn't going to come in and really turn this match into a huge advantage, right?
Right.
So then JJ comes in and he's choking Koloff in the corner. He's doing all the dastardly heel stuff. Ellering came in after that, and Paul Ellering was like the most uneventful thing to happen in this match. Like, I don't think the camera ever focused on anything he did once he hopped in, but as soon as he gets in the ring, the door closes and War Games, the match beyond begins. You get that special feeling still to this day watching any War Games match when okay, this finish can come at any point now.
I guess it was kind of cool, like Tony and like I love when they say like now it begins War Games, the match beyond. I love that again. It didn't last long. This is supposed to be them like fighting to the death. So when you're trying to really hurt each other, it's probably not going to last that long, which I thought was a really nice touch and made the match just feel different.
It did. I mean, they went about 90 seconds after the real match began. Dusty slapped a figure four of his own on J.J. Dillon and used the ropes for leverage while the other baby faces fought off the heels. Obviously, J.J. wasn't going to fight this for long, and he tapped out. So overall, I mean, fun match. It wasn't like when the other two matches I covered in this countdown were modern day matches, and that's just like cramming so much shit into one match. And this wasn't that at all, but it also kind of was. Like everybody had their moments. And at the end of the day, I think they got across what they needed to. And again, it's a house show, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that this was rightfully ranked by NoSo at number 6?
But I'll be honest, I was surprised. I thought this would probably be more like 15, maybe like 12 to 15. But it did everything like a War Games match is supposed to. Before this match, I would have preferred like maybe the WWE iteration to this particular War Games match. But after watching it, I would say no. I would actually go with this, and I think it's a fine ranking. Like I don't have my personal rankings right here, but 6 seems fine. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an easy watch, right? Like it's not, you don't have to set aside an hour between introductions and everything to watch this match, right? It's an easy, clean 23, right to business. And, you could tell they're still getting the kinks out of like how the match is going to run. And, but at the heart of the match is still the same, 36 years later, 35 years later. So it's cool to look back at matches like this while we, look ahead to 45-minute opuses that we're going to get, next weekend,
Yeah. I mean, just the match beyond is going to last a lot longer than 90 seconds. I think that's a very good chance that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've got the top 5 after this. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty of this NoSo Countdown. So you guys have some treats coming over the next 5 days as we get from 5 down to 1. Ellie, you got anything to plug?
Just keep watching these. I'm also somewhere where you are too, the Cronoso monthly or bi-weekly, where we're counting down. We're gearing up to Royal Rumble. We just got Royal Rumble 89 down. Got some really more good shows. 89 is a great year for WWF, so definitely excited to continue those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Rumble was a fun time. If you haven't watched that Rumble back in a while, watch our version. We had fun with it. So awesome. Well, good talking to you today. Hopefully the rest of your work trip goes good. And guys, stick around for that top 5 coming over the next 5 days. Later, everybody.